Have you watched the show Dexter, the TV show?
Saw the first season.
First season. So Dexter, this is what I keep thinking about. So Dexter is about. Have you watched it?
I have. I'm trying to put together.
Here's the correlation. So
Dexter.
here. Check out my move. Here's my move.
Okay.
So Dexter is a serial killer,
Right.
and the audience falls in love with him. He's like
Right.
the cool.
He's the protagonist.
Right. So
Right.
you're on
Some way,
his
yeah.
side, which is crazy to think. Like if I told you watch the show, The Serial Killer, and you'll be on his side, you'll be like, yeah,
Right.
I don't believe that. So what I'm thinking is, you said what we established a few minutes ago, that all piracy is bad, shouldn't happen, illegal, they're stealing, whatever. Do you find as a historian, as you're researching different ones, that you might connect with them, not fall in love with them, but maybe connect with them just like I do on Dexter with like the serial killer?
Mhm.
Although they're doing bad stuff, do you find that maybe you just connect with one more than another in a certain way?
There were some accounts I came across that sort of kind of changed a lot of my perspectives of piracy, such as, I'm not saying I'm like a pirate sympathizer, but I'm saying that like it's very complicated. And this is because there were pirates who were in it for legitimate reasons. You know, there were some that said on the scaffold as they were about to hang, when they would give a speech, which was kind of part of an execution ritual. And there were pirates who said, you know, if the Navy didn't treat us so badly, if the merchant ships didn't treat us so badly, if all you superiors didn't treat us so badly, then we wouldn't be forced to go into piracy. So there were people who did feel that they had to do it legitimately. Pirate ships were a place where a lot of people who couldn't get employment elsewhere could go, such as freed enslaved people or people who are still enslaved, criminals. You know, any sort of kind of social reject in a way could go onto a pirate ship. They were very diverse places. So they could be a place for many people. Now, there were some also pirates who had families. They had wives, they had children, and they would often at the scaffold implore them, you know, please don't hold this against my wife. She was always very against what I was doing. This is not her fault. You know, some wrote a letter to, one pirate wrote a letter to his mother saying, you know, I'm sorry to leave you behind. I know we'll meet again in heaven. Please take care of my children. You'll have to be both father and mother to them. So I'm like, you know,
this letter was found.
This letter was found. This letter was published because he wouldn't give a speech. So the spiritual chaplain of the prison they were staying at in London, which is called Newgate, and the spiritual chaplain's called the Ordinary, you know, he would publish all of his observations, and he published the letter amongst the observations. So this is why we have a printed account of it, which I was able to read all of these when I was doing my research in the UK, and it kind of humanized pirates. I was like, okay, so this is a lot more complicated. Yeah, they're people. Yeah, there were some who were, you know, they were people. They were husbands, brothers, sons. Now, many of them, though, were extremely violent and sadistic that you would never want to come across, and were absolutely terrible. But the vast majority of pirates wanted to do it maybe for just a year or two, get wealthy, and go home for financial stability.
Sure, it's a lot of the same things we'd see today are just one more job or just one job, and I know maybe it's outside the lines, but if I can do it this one time. I've taken some dubious contracts. They weren't illegal, but anyone in a position I may have sympathy for someone looking out for their family.
I'm assuming, I don't want to talk, I think piracy in general has decreased as the years have gone by.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Was there one thing, or according to you, what do you think's the one thing, if you had to pick one thing, that caused that decrease to happen?
It's not one thing, but the biggest thing is that, at least for what's called the golden age of piracy, which is like Pirates of the Caribbean piracy, that's the time period we look at up until about 1730, from like 1670 to 1730. It kind of ends around there because...
Oh, so this is a while ago.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this period specifically, but the vast organized bands of piracy ended because of two things. A lot of the major pirate captains had been killed at that point because of the growth of the Royal Navy and governors, more equipped governors. But a war broke out called the War of Austrian Succession, and a lot of it was fought on the sea. And Britain needed really experienced sailors who could fight. And so they said, if you're a pirate, we'll offer you a pardon if you'll work for us as privateers in the war. So you'll be pardoned of all crimes. And lots of pirates actually jumped at the chance because they're like, great, we can keep doing what we're doing, but we won't get arrested, and it's really not worth it anymore. So after that war breaks out, we never see such organized bands of piracy again, except for certain times in the 1800s off the coast of China and the China Seas. We have a woman and her husband. The woman's known as Madame Chang, colloquially, and she commanded a fleet of like 1,000 ships, and she was so successful as a pirate that the Chinese government paid her to retire.
1,000 ships.
1,000 ships.
When you say ships, you mean like how big?
I don't actually know how big, but I think they were pretty big.
So paid her to retire or bought out her enterprise and reappropriated it perhaps?
Ooh, good question. That's a good one. I actually don't know. I've always said paid to retire, but I like that theory. I'd have to look into that a bit more.
All right.
There
He's
seems
making
to
you a
be-
better historian.
He might be. Yeah, this is how, you know what? A historian is
This is
always
how it
learning.
happened.
A good historian is
He's
always
always
learning.
learning.